All right, so we've been talking a lot about right triangle trig and how to find sides and how to find angles. And we're always working with the right triangle. So what happens if we don't have a right triangle anymore? So let's take a look at some triangles that aren't right triangles. This is an oblique triangle, ABC. And what if you wanted to find the area? You wanted to find the height of this triangle. In order to find the area, you remember that the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height, right? So we have a base here, but we don't have a height, okay? So it looks like what we would need for this triangle is to know the height. How could we do that? So I looked up on my handy math words, and I found, and I think actually this is from Math Open Ref, I found the definitions of altitude for you because that's what you're going to need in order to find the height. You want the altitude. So that's this line right here, okay? So in your notes, you want to make sure you get this down so that you're able to understand what an altitude is. But in case of a triangle, the way you calculate the area is to find 1/2 base times the height. And when the height is the altitude, in the case of a non-right triangle, that is considered the perpendicular distance to the opposite side. Sorry about the crooked highlighting. All right, so if we're going here, the perpendicular distance to the base, that can give us the height. All right, you can go to any of these other sides and do the same thing, right? But in this case, we're going to use this one. All right, so that's what an altitude of a triangle is. It has 3 altitudes. Here's another one. It's when it goes perpendicular to the base. Okay, so this would be a right triangle. There's your right triangle. Perpendicular means to the right triangle. All right, so in order to find the area of a right triangle, or not a non-right triangle, excuse me, you start with dropping an altitude right there. Now what that now gives us, instead of not having a right triangle, we now have 2. We have one over here and one over here, okay? So we can either find the area of one side, or using 1/2 the base times the height, right? We can use this as our height, the overall is our base, and now we can find the area of that triangle. So let's take a look at how we do that. So we're starting with this, and again, just as a reminder, the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height, and that's where we're starting at, okay? One of the problems on your assignment says to show how you would prove that you can find this in an oblique triangle. So that's kind of what we're going through here. So if you write this down as you go, you should be able to answer that question. So we're going to start with just the labels. So AB is this side here, BC is this side, and then AC is the overall, and H is the height or the altitude that we're looking at. So if we just kind of try to look at what we know already from trigonometry, they're labeling this as theta, so this is our angle. It's angle A, okay? And if we were looking at just the sine of that angle, it would be this height over your leg AB. That's what they have written right here, okay? So if you wanted to solve for the height, because that's the one thing we don't know, we would multiply both sides by our AB. So we get our height of that triangle is the sine of the angle times the side AB. Now, assuming in this situation we typically know the sides, or we know 2 of the sides with the included angle, we can use trig to find that height, okay? So, after substituting for H, if you were looking for the area, right, we're still looking at this, our base, we said, was A to C, so we're going from here all the way to here, right? That's AC. And then we said that our height and we just wrote it in reverse, was the side AB times the sine of A. So if we wanted to calculate the area for this triangle using the sine of A, there we go. Okay, we could do the same thing using C, but you know, it would be the same thing. Then you're still doing H over AC again. Okay, so we're doing you would do it a little bit differently, but it's still going to be the same thing. I'm sorry, it would be H over BC. My bad. So depending on which angle you're using, that's going to be the side that you use. So here's something to remember. Make sure you put in your notes with that example, and how to prove that was when you're calculating the area, then it requires two sides of a triangle and the included angle. We're using that old SAS, okay? It's still there. So if we have that weird shaped angle or triangle, right? This is kind of lopsided, but you drop your vertical, right? You need an angle. You're going to need to know angle. You're going to need this information and this information with the angle in between. So you're going to need the sides with the included angle in order to find this one. All right? So let's look at an example. You might need to get your calculators out, and probably I'll just write them. I'm not going to calculate all the numbers. So if we have this and we want to find the area, right, we're going to drop our perpendicular here. All right, so we need our height. So the area, again, equals 1/2. Oops. 1/2 the base times the height. And in this case, our base is going to be AC, which is 17. Oops, there we go. Sorry, I'm using a new stylus pen here, and it's not being nice to me. All right. So we don't know our H, so we're going to use our trig to find our H. So in this case, right, it's going to be, here's our 90, so over here is our hypotenuse, right? Pen, there we go, hypotenuse over here. And then this is our adjacent. We don't know that number, but we know this is our opposite. Our H is our opposite. So if we looked at the, we're using opposite over hypotenuse. So we've got the sine of 72 would equal H over 10, right? Opposite over hypotenuse. So to solve for H, we're going to just multiply our 10 times the sine of 72. 72. And that's going to equal H, whatever that comes out on your calculator. You guys check that out. So that's our H. So now we're going back up here, and we've got our, I'll do it in blue. We're going to look at our area, okay? So our area is 1/2. 1/2 the base. That's our 17. So 1/2 of 17 times our H right here. 10 times the sine of 72. All right. So in your calculators, it would work out just exactly as it's shown. You're going to take the number 1/2. You're going to multiply, or 0.5 times 17 times 10 times the sine of 72, and whatever that number comes out to be, that would be the area of this triangle. So if we kind of look at this as from before, right, that's ugly green, here we go. Our 17 is AC, right? 10 is AB. And then times the sine of your included angle. So if we go back to our equation right here, look at this. AC was our overall, and AB was that sine, and then the sine of your angle. So that formula is exactly what we get if we work that out using the formula. It's the same thing. So it's something that you can either memorize the formula, or just understanding your trig rules can get the answer for you as well. All right. So let's try one more, and now our angle is on another part of the triangle, but it's still going to work. We start by dropping our perpendicular, or our altitude, right? This will be our h, which we do not know. I don't want this. Where to go? There you go. So if we take a look at it again, we're going to go the one area equals 1/2 the base times the height. Now our base in this case is AC, which is 12. Now we need to find our height here. So let's just kind of look at what h is going to be. H is going to be, well, let's do it this way. Let's set up our trig equation so we don't get confused. Our trig equation is going to be still sine, right? The sine of 23 equals our h, I'll just use h, over our hypotenuse, which is 6, okay? So h equals 6 times the sine of 23. Now it's 26 sine of 23. Okay, so I'm going to just write that here for my h, 6 sine 23. It's moving on me, it's like a ghost. There we go. Okay, so if you multiply that out, you end up with 36. Oops, I need a pen. Here we go. 36 sine of 23. So you can do that in your calculator. All right. So I did that because 1/2 of 12 is 6, right? And then I took 6 times 6 was 36. So that's how I got my 36, because these two become 6, and then 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, and then we just take the sine of 23. So you want to do that in your calculators and check that out. So that's how you're going to use your trig to find that altitude. So for my class, you will be doing your worksheet in class, and then you have these problems in our geometry and construction packet. And don't forget you've got a project working, so you should be working on that as well. If you're having any trouble with this work, please leave me a note as to what you're having trouble with. Not just the problem number, but what kind of problem it is on our Google Classroom. And while I'm out of town, I will try to drop some extra videos on to help you out. All right, have a great day.